up, Brad? How are you doing?
I'm all right.
I just love our theme song, man. I love jamming out to this. I hope you guys love jamming out to this every week. Brad made this shit. Did he tell you guys that before? Did you tell him that you were one of the artists here in this?
Yeah.
Talented.
So this is, I think I said it once, but this was a couple of musician friends of mine from Rhode Island actually came up just to spend a weekend in the recording studio over at the New England School of Communication. And we took a couple of standard-y songs that everybody knew, and then we sort of wrote 3 or 4 songs just that weekend. And the drummer said, I have this idea where we're going to do this weird thing where we're going to drop the last 16th note of a measure. And for people that speak musician, it's why this gets that sort of stilted feeling every once in a while. Gong. Because it actually cuts off. Gong. It cuts off a piece of what would make it a normal.
So what does that make it for timing? Just out of curiosity, like it,
So we called
it still 4/4, or is it like 4/15?
And that's it. So this song was actually called 415 to Bangor.
No shit.
And it was 15 16th notes. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Now you guys know.
Now you know. And if you don't know, now you know, Grenzo.
Yeah, man. What's up, everybody? Thanks again for joining us.
We really appreciate everybody that's listening, and we've gotten some comments on the YouTube, which is great. Still looking to find an audio host so that you can download this and listen to it in your car without streaming YouTube.
Yeah, but you can always download this off YouTube to MP3 or whatnot. Just jam it in the car. You could always do that, if you're down on that style of technology.
That's right. If you really want to DIY your third-rate MTG podcast,
or want to add some more barriers into our listeners in the car here, but.
What did we have this weekend? We had some more events. I played a little Modern on Monday. Our shop is now doing box tourneys.
How did that go anyway? I tried to make it, but I couldn't.
We fired.
So we had at least 8 people.
Who won? I think Doofer.
Really?
I think Doofer and Doofer and GB.
So there was 2 winners, or they split?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and because I think we had exactly 8, it was just 3 rounds. I think they both. Is that even possible that they both 3-0'd?
What decks were they on? Just out of curiosity.
So GB, not giving away any information to opponents here in future tournaments. GB's been playing a very controlling build of Zoo with a whole lot of removal. So I lost to him in 3 playing humans.
Wow.
And he got game 2 with a pretty epic just bolt helix to finish me off.
Dude, GB is one of the most unique players I've ever seen. So he's one of the guys at our shop, and for the longest time when I saw him, like when I first showed up to the Bangor shop, I saw this guy, and I think he was on a control deck or something like that. So you kind of like try to pigeonhole people sometimes to be like, okay, you're a control player.
This is the type of player you are, yeah.
Yeah, and like, I wouldn't say I was completely wrong, but he knows how to turn up the heat when he needs to, dude. I've never seen anyone pilot a control deck and animate their celestial colonnades with more perfect timing. You know what I mean? And start trying to turn the corner of a game. Like, even when he was on a straight control deck, this guy just knows how to turn up the heat. We went to time once, and he was on control. I was on affinity, and this fucking guy, shit you not, like, we had maybe 5 minutes left before, like, it was gonna go to turns, and I was like, okay, well, this only favors me, like, you know what I mean? No, fuck no, dude. He just, like, smashed me with a control deck, like, out-aggroed me. Did not expect it. Like, he just slams his Stony Silence, controls a few of my dudes, and then, like, turn 4 slams, like, turn 4 or 5, like, slams out a secure the wastes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
son of a bitch, dude. Like, I was not ready for this. Like, and before you know it, he beat me down. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like, he's really good. So I mean, that deck seems like a conglomeration of every one of his styles. Like
Oh yeah.
a 4-color sounds like zoo
Yep.
controlly. Wow.
And then Doofer was on Heliod Company,
Oh, nice.
which is the Devoted Druid combo deck, but with Heliod's collected companies. Yeah, nasty. I managed to beat him in 2 games. I will say a couple of things. One, he had just woken up. Like, he rolled into the tournament 3 minutes late, pulling the sand out of the corner of his eyes,
Oh,
and just
Jesus.
like he had done something earlier in the day and then took a nap or something. And so I might have gotten a break because he was a little sleepy, and I have meta gamed my deck to our local meta a little bit. I'm back to running main deck Deputy Detention
Oh, fucking right.
to have a little bit more interaction.
So what is that really like a bomb against deputy detention?
Nobody.
Okay.
It's not a bomb against anybody, and
It's just really annoying.
I say that really quickly without trying to put a whole lot of thought into it. I'm certain that there are decks that are out there that are like, oh, if I lose this one piece, I'm screwed. But that doesn't feel like our meta, but it's a tempo play. It's like a spell queller or something. It's just saying I've got to keep you off your thing for a turn.
Yeah.
And so if he plays Heliod on 3 and wants to combo off the next turn, but I can grab Heliod, well, then he's got to blow a ballista or something to kill my thing. Maybe that buys me a turn. So between Reflector Mage and Deputy Detention and Meddling Mage, I have a little bit of a better game 1, and I've also put Kessig Malcontents back into my deck.
Really? The guy that does 1 damage per human you control?
Correct. And
Shit.
and so in game 2, he was on. In game 1, I was on the play. Just had a good curve. He didn't have that much heat. I Reflector Maged his Devoted Druid, so that gave me enough time. But in game 2, I basically comboed him out. I kept a so-so hand that had 1 land and a couple of nobles, and like 1 land noble,
Vile.
land something else. Turn 3, noble Manus Rider, swing 5.
Yikes.
And then so I had 4 creatures in play the next, and I was hitting him for 5. I hit him for 4, maybe the turn before. And when it came back to me, I played Kessig Malcontents, Phantasmal Image, Kessig Malcontents. So Domir for 5, Domir for 6, swing 5 in the air.
Wow.
And so,
Dude, Kessig Malcontents, that's in the main deck?
yeah.
Wow.
And it's just to have those like small percentage outs. And I think, when you have a deck that you know really well and has a pretty strong game 1 game plan.
Against any deck.
Yeah. If you can't stop my creatures, I'm going to beat you down.
Yep.
So what you need are those 1 in 100 outs too. This is the thing that's going to win me that match. And I watched him tap out on his turn, and I said, "Okay, I got it."
This is the game we're gonna play, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had the Kessig in hand, I had an image in hand, and I said, "If he doesn't kill me this turn, we got it." I think he played a Coco, and I don't remember what he got, but it wasn't comboing off. He did it main phase, passed it back to me. So. Anyway, it was some interesting magic. We played games.
Humans is so resilient, man. It survived so many of the bannings, so many of the metagame changes, so many of the busted cards. You remember Oko when he was the thing? Mm-hmm. Humans was still a thing. Like, it's such a resilient deck, man. Us humans, we just always find a way.
Life finds a way.
Dude, so that's a really good point. And a really good segue into what we were kind of talking about before it started.
I feel myself standing up right now, just rolling into the room.
we were just talking about this concept of something of the Magic game in general. So, you've heard of, like, in the stock market having like a bear market versus, what's the other one?
Bull
Like,
market?
bull market. Yep. And it just basically refers to whether it's a slow market, whether you want to buy or sell, you know what I mean? We were talking about how that kind of applies to the Magic game. And I literally thought of this over on the way over here in the car, because all of the cards that I was brainstorming this week to talk about were all like new cards that had been printed within the last few years. And I'm like, this is so not my style, man. I love to talk about reserve list cards, cards that are really hard to get. Hey, let's get these now. You know what I mean? But I'm like, why am I so attracted to all of these newer cards? And I think it's because of this kind of dual concept. Like, in Magic, you have two types of markets. You have a player's market and a collector's market.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So, like, right now, I've come to the conclusion it is 100% a player's market right now. Like, you look at all of the card prices out there that are, like, right in your face, that are really high value. It isn't that they're super rare cards. It's just that they're being played so much. Maybe they're printed at mythic rarity or whatnot. But, like, in comparison to some older cards, some reserve list cards, they are fucking commons. You know what I mean? Like, they are, so for example, like one of the cards that just blew me away this week, where I'm like, why don't I have a playset of this card yet? And it was Urza, Lord High Artificer. Like,
I mean, I don't know why you don't have a playset. I sold you mine.
I know, man. I love the card. I knew it was good right from the get go. But, like, I'm always like, $40, blah blah blah. If you look at it, right, $40 is kind of a lot for a Magic card, right? Like, it's to the point where you're thinking, like, do I really need this card? Do I really want to spend $40 on this card? But, like, think about this. There's some reserve list or some legend cards out there, like from the legend set, that are super rare, that are never going to be reprinted, that were printed far less than any of these newer cards, right? That are worth less or about the same as some of these, newer cards. So, it's kind of easy to conclude from there that, like, okay, well, this is a player's market. Like, if a card's being played, then the value of it's going to go up, as opposed to, hey, this is a good card to collect. I would definitely want to have this for the future. Right now, I think people, the market would suggest that, like, people are kind of not doing that. But, so, like, the Lord High Artificer is worth around $40. Like, you can get him for between $30 and $40. Friggin' Stormworld from Legends. I believe it's a reserve list card. Also equally as cool. $40. Like, you know what I mean? And there's far less of them. It was. Do you know what that card is?
No, but I think you're explaining the difference right there in that. So I'm a pretty enfranchised Magic player. I don't know what Stormworld is. I know that you just told me I can't play it in any format that I give a shit about. So it can be $40 forever.
So you're not really motivated to get it. You're just like, okay, like.
Yeah. And so I think there are times where the market is certainly a player's market versus a collector's market. But I think you're also talking about, sort of, when we talked about the different kinds of stocks, you're talking about a reserve list card, or a card that's only available to be played in Legacy or Vintage or Commander.
Mm-hmm.
It has a low play equity to the majority. And right now, those formats, and even some people will say modern, are waning.
Oh, for sure. Like, Rudy just put out a video not long ago about sort of the reserve list tanking. You know what I mean? For like the last 2 or 3 years, it's just been pretty abysmal with its card prices, and like you can pick up just about anything on the reserve list besides like the tier 1
time walks.
Yeah, like the Power 9 for like a pretty reasonable price, man. Like I was lucky enough around the holiday season to score a Tundra for like $160, and it was really, I was like, oh man, this is stupid. This was like a $500 card not long ago.
Yeah.
So I saw $160. I'm like, well, might as well. Think about that. That's €4. And I don't mean the European currency. I mean the new creature, Euro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Like, a standard card that was printed in the most recent set. Probably millions of this card exist. There ain't millions of Tundras that exist. Like, they'll never reprint it. It's played a lot in Commander, you know what I mean, in Legacy.
No.
But more people play Standard and more people play Modern and Pioneer right now, where Euro is just fucking huge. You can get a play set of Euros for a Tundra.
Yeah.
Like, that just blows my mind. There's like a play set of a standard card you can get for a fucking dual land. Like, it's nuts.
And so, revisiting that conversation about stocks, if you're a player, and you want to play Simic, you probably need Euros for at least Standard and Pioneer. I haven't seen it in Modern yet, but it wouldn't surprise me, because I can't stop saying that the cards that they've printed in the last few years are some of the most powerful ever. You keep seeing these cards that have a wall of text on them.
That's all been summed up with like keywords that represent a wall of text that used to exist under that same ability.
Right. So there's a keyword that refers you to Article 32 of page 456, and then there's more text under it.
Right.
And there's so many cards in Standard right now that are like that still haven't even seen the light of day, because we're still looking at the top tier percent. But anyway, if you want to be a player in the competitive popular formats that are most attainable for most people, because the problem is, yeah, you could play that Tundra in Legacy, but the rest of that deck is as prohibitive as that one card. You also just said you can have 4 Euros for the price of that Tundra. How much more play equity do you get? So I think that there's something to be looked at, which is some cards are players market cards.
Yeah.
And they ebb and flow with the tide, because Euro might be out of fashion in a month. Like one of the cards,
$30 or so.
One of the cards that's on my pick this shit up list might make Euro less playable. And if something like that were to happen, that card's going to go down to $10. Now, Tundra is not as high as it was a year and a half ago, but it's not going to go down to $10. It's not going to go down to $40.
If it ever does go down to $10, how many do we buy?
So, in the circumstances that the dual lands are $10, Wizards has gone out of business. They have broken the reserve list.
All right.
Something has gone awry. Because the only reason why those cards have value is because the people are still playing the game. Once people stop playing the game, all of this cardboard has no value other than your kitchen table gaming.
Right. Yeah, man. So it's definitely a player's market right now. Like, if you own cards that are played in some of the top tier decks and like Pioneer and Standard and in Modern, you're doing good, man. And I would go as far to say that you should let that sort of, at this point in time, sort of dictate the cards that you might want to spec on, or you might want to, take a risk on, like those, the penny stocks we were talking about. Like, think of playability, because that seems to be right now one of the big factors that's just making card prices go through the roof, And speaking of Euro, man, did you see Magic Aid's video about a Pioneer deck that revolves around Euro and Tocatli Honor Guard?
No, but okay. I like what's happening here.
We've been talking about this forever, man. Like, some type of deck to like bust up enter the battlefield effects and how it could work in your favor. So he starts up the video and he's talking about Tocatli Honor Guard, which is if we need to switch into the segment of snap this shit up, like, get this card, man. Tocatli Honor Guard. It's like $3. You can get foils for $3. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I think you're paying like maybe 50 cents to $1. This card is a torpor orb on a stick.
A torpor orb with legs.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what we mean by that is it represents torpor orb, the actual artifact that was just a straight artifact, but it also is a 2/2 creature. So it's got legs. It's on a stick. Like it can crack people. It's so it's a 2-drop creature, 1 white, 1 colorless, 2/2, passes the vanilla test.
Nope.
I'm sorry, 1/3.
Thank you.
1/3.
Still,
1 + 3 is 4, which whatever, it passes the
it
passes
does.
the
It
vanilla test.
evens out, and
Yeah.
that's something that most players will know. But yeah,
Yeah.
as long as the power and toughness add up, you're good.
Right. As long as your power and toughness add up to double your mana cost, it passes the vanilla test for sure. So it just says creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. You and I were talking about some like fantasy decks surrounding this, like that new Clackbridge troll that has like this enter the battlefield ability that you give your opponent a bunch of shit, and like it's an advantage to them if you could somehow stifle that and be like, all right, you don't get those, and I still have like a 6/6 or trample haste over here, which is ridiculous. Well, this card,
guy's cheap.
Yeah, not only does he do that, but like apparently he shuts down a lot of shit in Pioneer right now. Like the whole the combo, what is it again? The
Dimir inverter
yes.
truth combo.
Inverter combo. Shuts it down.
Well, it stops the inverter from having its effect, and it stops Thassa's Oracle from having its effect.
From winning them the game. Like,
yeah.
It's so good. I'm sorry, it wasn't a 6/6. It's an 8/8 for 5 mana, right? Trample haste, right? And then when it comes into play, target opponent creates 3/0/1 white goat creature tokens. So just imagine stopping that from happening, right? So let's say there's a Tocatli on the board. They never get those.
Now I have I want to build black-white mid-range
yes.
so bad. And so I think what we're talking about is playing Tocatli Honor Guard, Clackbridge Troll, fuck your Uro.deck.
Yes. Well, actually, it kind of helps Uro, believe it or not. Like, it actually works really well with Uro.
If you're playing Uro, right. But I want to stop my opponents.
You won't. It'll be good. It'll be good for them too.
Well, they get to keep it.
Yeah, they get to keep a 6/6, but if you're running like Clackbridge Troll, you got a fucking 8/8 trampler that like, okay.
Well, and I'm running black-white mid-range, so I've got path.
Yeah.
Push. Sorry, we're talking about Pioneer.
Oh yeah, that's right, dude. Yeah, push takes care of that guy. But dude,
yeah. 3-drop.
So like that was basically the combo that he ran in his deck. It was Uro and the Tocatli Honor Guard. So he could collected company into those 2 cards, and he would keep a 6/6 on the battlefield. And the cool thing about Uro is when it has the enter the battlefield effect, and when it attacks, it has the same effect. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So it's even if you don't get the ETB, you'll still get it.
Exactly. Especially if you're collected companying before your turn. You know what I mean? Before my turn, collected company, hit a Tocatli Honor Guard, Uro, and then on my turn, I'm swinging at you. I still get Uro's effect, and have to deal with a 6/6 on the battlefield that I basically paid 4 mana at the speed of an instant and got another creature with. Like, it's so good, man. Like,
man. And so I just brought up his deck list on YouTube. And talk about cards that I have a unhealthy passion for.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Teferi Time Raveler.
No.
Nimble Obstructionist. Yes. That's what it is. Yep.
Yes. Look at that deck and say, which card is not actually played in anything else?
Dude, it's
and
so
you're like,
good.
Oh, Nimble Obstructionist.
It's so good, man. That's just so good. You could technically Nimble Obstructionist your own Uro to keep it into play. I don't know, that's weird, but like
looking at this deck, I think I'm like 3 Uros away from having this deck.
Yeah, so about $120.
Which, if I can turn over some Heliods this week.
Yeah, right. Man, but this is so cool. He runs stuff like Ronus, Tireless Tracker, as Brad mentioned, the Nimble Obstructionist. That basically is like a stifle on a stick for, it's not quite a stifle, but it's 3 mana cycling. When you cycle it, stifle. So you're stifling and drawing a card, and then by the very least, it's a 3/1 flash flying for 3 mana. Like that's pretty good, man. But yeah, it's just so cool. Like I really love the concept of it, And the more I thought about it, I was like, Tocatli really is the answer to so many of these decks. Like, I mean, granted, you're not going to be able to solve anything in Pioneer right now with one card, I don't think. Like, Tocatli doesn't do shit against Mono Black. You know, it doesn't do shit against some of the builds in Pioneer. But, like, these busted decks that you just saw, like, 6 of in the top 8, like this Dimir Inverter deck, it just shuts it down. Like, of course they have fatal pushes and such, but, like, you essentially have 8 stifle effects for their combo, and they can't counter Nimble Obstructionist.
No, you can't counter a cycling ability.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just insane to me.
And looking at the Grand Prix in Phoenix from February 10th.
Yep, look at that shit, dude.
Spirits, Dimir Inverter, Dimir Inverter, Dimir Inverter, Spirits, Dimir Inverter, red deck wins.
Yep. So apparently Dimir Inverter is a big thing right now. Like, this is the 5 out of the top 8 decks in a 941 player tournament.
I think we talked about that like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So we were not far behind the curve on that. Go us.
Yeah, solid, man. We get them right sometimes.
So is that a pick this shit up?
Tocatli Honor Guard?
Yeah.
For sure. Snap this shit up for sure. You can get foils for $3 or under right now. Like, what are you waiting for on that? Like, you know what I mean? It's back in the day, when I was playing Affinity, early days of Modern, when Torpor Orb was printed, I was like, wow, this is just the sideboard answer to so many decks that I can't win against. Like, what was it? The pod decks that were a thing at that time. I was like, this is so good against them. I was like, they literally need to hit one card. They need Quasali Pride Mage, or they do not beat me. You know what I mean? I was like, this card is so good. So I got foils at like $2, $2 or $3, and now they're 15. Like, granted, it's a defensive card, so therefore I don't think it's ever going to be like $100 card. You know what I mean? But that's a pretty big gain, man. That's a 500% gain right there. So, then you have Hushwing Griff. Brad just brought up Hushwing Griff, which is a 3-drop creature, flash flying, 2/1 for 3 mana. Creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. Yeah, so there's another one like that.
So it's a 2/1, but it's a flyer with flash. So there could be something there to that as well. You've got the Nimble Obstructionist that has flash, this that has flash. You're playing Collected Company, maybe leaning more on playing on your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
But all of these Torpor Orb effects are great.
Now, do you like that card, the Hushwing Griff, over the Nimble Obstructionist, or would you prefer the latter?
Flavor-wise? I'm a huge fan of Nimble Obstructionist. I don't, like I said, it's probably an unhealthy infatuation.
I think it's just the better card there, too, right? Like, if you're going to pay the 3 mana, the question at that point is, do you want them to have the ability to counter it or not? Both of them have flash. Both of them have flying. One of them hits harder.
Yep.
And one of them can't be countered if you have to stifle an ability with it.
Yeah.
Granted, the Hushwing Griff does both. It kind of stifles an ability and is a beater. But, like, the trade-off there, I think, is really good in favor of Nimble Obstructionist.
So my snap this shit up this week is a Theros Beyond Death card, just printed. Soul Guide Lantern. Mike hasn't seen this card. I can see him looking at it saying, what are you talking about? This just looks like a worse Relic of Progenitus.
Yeah, way worse.
Bullshit. How much does Relic of Progenitus cost?
Like $1.50, $2.
I meant mana cost.
Oh, 1 mana.
Okay, we're going to bring it up in another screen here. Okay. What is the effect that you get from Relic of Progenitus?
Well, you get to exile a card, not target card, but a card from someone's graveyard.
Okay. And what's the second line?
You pay 1, exile it, exile all cards, draw a card. So,
okay. So let's look at Soul Guide Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
When it enters the battlefield, exile target card. So, number one, if you just look at it as, okay, they're 1-drop artifacts that will get rid of one card from a graveyard. This lets you pick that card. Good against an Uro that's in the yard, or the other escape cards, something that might have a lot of value in the yard. If you need your relic to cycle, which is a big part of the card, it's one of the reasons why people will pay the 1 over something like Tormod's Crypt.
Right.
You're going to pay 1 to sack it, exile everybody's graveyard, and draw a card.
Cantrip, yep.
Soul Guide Lantern has that mode where you, if this is dead in the matchup, you can pay 1 and cycle it. But if you need it to, you can play this for 1 mana, sack it, and exile a whole graveyard.
Now,
you can't do that with Relic.
No, Relic isn't legal in Pioneer, is it?
No.
No. Okay. In Pioneer, I would. Yeah, that's a good question. We should look that up, dude.
Am I lying? Don't let me lie to people.
Yeah, we gotta spread the truth here.
Modern Legacy Vintage Commander Pauper.
No, it is. Relic is not legal in Pioneer.
So we are really, I think, looking at the best Relic replacement.
Very likely, dude.
Now, Tormod's Crypt is legal, but again, there are reasons why people play Relic over Tormod's Crypt.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this is a $10 card, although there are a lot of uncommons from recent sets that are between $5 and $10.
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, the only advantage Tormod's Crypt provides over the Soul Guide Lantern is just the ability to advance your turn 1 play at no cost to you. You know what I mean? So, like, Tormod's Crypt is 0 mana.
Oh, Tormod's Crypt. Sorry, I thought we were still talking about Relic.
Oh, no, sorry. Tormod's Crypt it's 0 mana. So, in Modern, you used to see a lot of Hardened Scales decks play that. And it's literally for that exact reason. Like, on turn 1, you don't want to be dumping mana into a defensive card. You know what I mean? Like, so in those decks, like, Tormod's Crypt is probably always going to be a little better. But in, like, decks where you really need to target something in the graveyard very, very early, that's not bad at all. And the good thing is, like you said, as soon as it comes out, you can, bam, blow up the graveyard, which is, you can't say that for Relic.
Right. Relic costs 2 if you want to nuke graveyards.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, let me just double check the language on that. It's exile all cards from all graveyards. Soul Guide Lantern does not nuke your graveyard. So even in a commander game, you can knock out all the graveyards on the table and still have your own, which is now I'm wondering. Gonna look up.
Interesting.
What's the zero drop?
Tormod's Crypt.
Tormod's. Man, I'm spent. Just wanna. Hopefully the texts that I'm getting on my phone right now are not messing up our audio. And so Tormod's Crypt takes care of target players' graveyard. So you do get to keep yours, but it doesn't have the multiplayer component.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I like the card for sure. Is Pioneer as fast of a format right now where you need to turn 1 exile a card from a graveyard?
No, but we're definitely approaching where there are a lot of combo decks. So right now, looking at that list that we just looked at, we had all of those Dimir Inverter lists. Exiling their graveyard is not a great strategy. It will help you slow them down. So if you have a clock, nuking their graveyard will keep them from, one, not being able to Treasure Cruise.
That's true.
Which is really important to them. They need to get to their pieces. So if they don't have their pieces, so if you have interaction and pressure, that's a good strategy against them. So Thoughtseize is pretty good if you're backing it up with a clock. Not having to put extra mana into this to nuke a graveyard,
yeah,
is a pretty good way to save your mana for deploying threats. So you're right. Playing this on turn 1 is not the play.
No.
But being able to play this on turn 4 with a 3-drop.
Yeah.
And then being able to sack it on their turn for no mana has a lot of value.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah, that's really cool. I can see that, especially in a player's market like this, really gaining some value. Yeah, pick up the foils, man. What are the foils going for?
Let's take a look.
Foil. Did I just see 35 cents, or was that the?
That's the regular, I think.
Okay. I was gonna say I might pick up some foils at that, dude.
$1-ish.
Yeah. One of those throw-ins, like you see it in someone's trade binder. They got a foil. They got to foil one of those. Just chuck it in.
And that's it. So
Huh.
under $1.
Wow.
What I always struggle with on these is I don't want to buy one from 12 different people. So I'm looking for somebody that has 12. The guy that has 12 wants $2 for them.
Yeah.
Not as confident in that. But I might pick up my playset right now while we're talking about it.
$1.40.
Yep. $1.40 and $1 shipping.
Yeah.
I mean, if it goes up to $2, I saved myself $3.
Yeah.
And that's good enough for me for a card that I truly believe will be a player, at least in Standard and Pioneer.
By the way, man, took your advice last week and started bidding on some mad Heliod's just in time. Like, just in time. If you took our advice last week, good. Because Heliod's already gone up. And I can just tell from the prices that I paid towards the end of the week for Heliod on auctions versus like when we first started like speccing on it. Like, oh, it was ridiculous. Like, I managed to get one of those foiled showcase ones for like $22-23, which is that's a steal, man. And you know, some of the regular ones for 15. And they were already like $20, but now they're like 22, 23. Like, they're catching on. Like, people are catching on. You know, I just wanted it personally I wanted to play that. I wanted to play Doofer's deck in Modern. You know what I mean? The Heliod combo. I'm like, this is just so cool.
It has so many angles.
Yeah, it really does, man. It's so hard to deal with. Just so many different ways that it can attack from. But yeah, like that was good. Yeah, I don't know about this one, man. Like, I might sit back and watch and see like how much this goes up. But you're right. I think it's one of like the most efficient in Pioneer right now, like graveyard removals.
Well, so in talking about what cards are playable and how much text is on the card, I just want to point out Stitcher's Supplier
went up quite a bit, huh?
Well,
did you sell yours, by the way? Did you?
No.
You thinking about it? Didn't you buy like 20 of those hoes?
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, you gotta start pitching those, dude. They're like $4 or $5 each now. Get your $20 a playset after investing
and that's
10, 15 for all 20. Yeah.
That's foils. Let's not look at foils.
Foils are 10. God damn, dude. Regular ones?
Nope, that's still foil.
No way. Oh. So like you're looking at $3 or $4.
Yeah, I mean, so they were up closer to $5 when we talked about it a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lesson to be learned. We talked about last week when to sell your cards.
Should have sold you damn Stitches supplies.
For players market cards like that, when they go up, sell.
Oh yeah.
Because that card will wax and wane.
Yeah.
Now, talking about the Tundra, it's down to 160. But I guess that has moved quite a bit over the last few years too. But I think that had there was a boom bust there.
Yeah,
sort of like a stock market where they were really overvalued for a while.
Yeah, they're kind of going up at all of the dual lands at kind of more of a modest rate these days, like what you would expect from a long-term investment. You might get like 2 or 3% over the course of a couple months. Like, you know what I mean? Which is really good if you think of like monetary value of something. You couldn't put your money in a savings account and get 2 or 3%, you know, in the course of a couple months. But like, that's kind of what you would expect for a dual land, you know, as opposed to like these buyouts where people see, oh shit, Tundra's 50 or Savannah's $50. Let me buy all of them. And suddenly it's like $500 is because none exist anymore. And some guy bought them all. But then when you notice, oh shit, nobody's paying, you know, $500 for them. it suddenly brings the price down because it's like we were saying, it's a player's market, man. And it's a really good point. Like when something goes up, you got to realize it's because it's being played right now. It's because it's being played heavily right now, and you should probably get rid of it. There's probably a huge market out there. It's really liquid. Get rid of it.
There's also a concept in fast trade finance and in collectible finance like this, and you'll hear this talked about on other podcasts probably. Don't be afraid to leave something for the next guy, which is to say, okay, this card's going up. If I hold on to it for another month, I could get an extra $1 a piece. Get your 100%, whatever it is. And then if it goes up another $1, that person that paid you $5 a copy can sell them for $6.
Right.
And he made $1. You paid $1 for it and made $4.
Exactly.
Like that's fair.
Yep.
That's totally fair. And you don't run the risk of like the position that I'm in now.
Yep.
I could still sell them at a profit now, but I've lost. I could beat myself up and say, oh, I lost out on $2 a copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sold those tainted packs that we were talking about last week.
Did.
They went so quick. I strategically put them on eBay I sorted it as though I was, looking to buy one. Like I searched eBay and was like, if I was looking to buy a tainted pack, what would I have to pay? And I just kind of set my buy it now price at a few cents lower than that person. So it comes up in the top search results for your smartest buyers. Those things were gone in less than a week. Like I got $120 for 4 cards that I bought 12 of them for 10% of that price. Like, you know what I mean? It was, so I didn't even feel bad about it. It's like you were saying, leave some for the next guy. If that card goes up to $50, I still don't feel bad about it. Like that person, would, all of the people that bought those for $30 off of me are going to make $20 on them if they spike up to 50. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like your profit margin isn't going to be what mine was.
All right. And so you went in on Heliod's this week based on our conversation last week, but that didn't come out of your bank account.
Came right out of those card sales from tainted packs, man.
Yeah. So you turned 50 cents into $30 and $30 into, or $60 into 3.
Yeah. With some left over. I mean, after buying the Heliod's, I bought like 5 Heliod's and, spent collectively like $75, $80, something like that, somewhere around there. So you still profit like $40, which is more than I played for the original playset of tainted packs, plus 5 Heliod's, 1 alt art foil. Like, pretty good, man. Like it's just all about you gotta know it when you see it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I don't know what I'm waiting for profit on this card. Like, what am I waiting for? Sell it. You know what I mean? Just like if someone came and offered me 10 grand for my Black Lotus, what am I waiting for? 10 times my investment in 5 years. Like, absolutely.
Yeah. Anybody in any sort of financial investment would look at you and go, "What?"
Yeah, exactly. Like, what the hell
what
else?
Return?
Yeah.
Where can I buy these magic cards?
Yeah, exactly, man. So like,
but then the guys with real money try it, like Martin Shkreli, and they say, this is actually stupid.
Yeah, man.
You guys really don't know how to.
You have to be a student of the game to really make a good profit, man. Which is why we're here for you. You know what I mean? Why we're here for you guys to, we are students of the game. We play this game. We study it every week, and Magic cards, much like any other investment, if you look at it that way, it's never a guarantee. Like whatever we say, it may never be a guarantee that it's going to go up. It's just based on students of the game, their advice, and like what they see as potentially being informed players and potentially being good cards that they.
That should be the name of our guest segment when we start bringing on guests, students of the game.
Yeah. That's a really good one, man.
And we definitely have some ideas of some friends from our local meta, and we want to reach out to some of the larger local tournament organizers to see if we can get in some of the local 1K winners, states winners, that sort of things going forward. So
that'd be sweet, man. Like we're great to bring that up. Like we're thinking about we're really interested in bringing guests on the show and just talking about the main Magic scene, even beyond. Like if you want to come up and see us up here in the snowy state of Maine, We'd love to have you on the podcast, talk about, a deck list that you ran at a recent big tournament or whatnot, and tell us about why you ran it, your card choices, and possibly go off of this format of like, what might you see as being the answer to this deck, and what might you see as being a good investment, in the current metagame. So, yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
So, I had a couple of. Well, you had some snap this shit
Oh,
up.
dude.
I had some snap this shit up.
Yeah, go for it, man.
I got a couple of write this shit down.
Oh, same here. I got one write this shit down, but
Yeah.
go for it. Start us up.
So, one of the things that's interesting and challenging, I think, financially from a lot of cards in the last 2 years is Wizards has done a ton of supplemental product. They've done the standard, I don't want to say showdown decks, but the pre-constructed standard decks put a lot of extra copies of certain cards into circulation. The Phoenix suffered from that a little bit.
Yeah.
But so I'm telling you this not as a you're going to make $100 on these cards, but Plague Crafter is an awesome Magic card.
That's so good.
The ETB-187 make a player. Each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker.
ETB-187. Are you saying 187 because it's the murder code?
Yeah.
187. In case anyone's not familiar, that's
Homicide.
code for homicide, baby. So this guy comes in and commits multiple acts of homicide.
He does. And so in the right build, you're going to get your value out of this guy. And he's a 3/2 human for 3.
He also could commit homicide and suicide, depending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just play him and sack him, and
Kills himself.
it's each player, and which is a templating that Wizards has done more and more as they recognize that multiplayer formats like Commander are just so popular.
Yep.
So if you're playing against Battle Cruiser Magic, where you've got somebody that's got this crazy hexproof everything deck, Waldemar,
Yep.
Plague Crafter is a pretty good answer when everybody has to sacrifice a creature and
Yeah.
there's somebody at the table that only has one. So
Totem Armor doesn't get around that either, does it? Because it's the player that has to make the action of sacrificing a creature. It's not destroyed. It's not. I think it gets around Totem Armor.
if we've got any Bogle.
Oh, for
Where
sure.
do you stand on that?
I think as much as I want it to be Boggle, because I've called it that for so long, I think technically it is Bogle. Like Ogre is Ogre, Bogle, Bogle. Like it's the long O sound on if you don't have two of the same letter following the vowel.
All right, so the official stance of the Snapcast, Bogle. My other, write this shit down, and this is a card that I think you should trade into. Write this down for as we approach rotation. Have this in the back of your mind. Biogenic Ooze. This is a mythic from Ravnica Allegiance.
And it's $2.
And you can get copies cheaper than that.
Wow.
$2 and it's not being played. So we're living in a world where there is a bulk rate for mythics. And 230 is above the bulk rate for mythics.
Yeah. Yeah, slightly. So what does it do? Scroll up again. So it's a 2/2 creature for 5.
Oh, look, a wall of text.
When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 green ooze creature token.
So now you're saying for 5 mana, I've got 4 power and 4 toughness across 2 bodies. That doesn't meet the vanilla test.
But wait, at your end step, put a 1/1 counter on each ooze you control. So this itself is an ooze. So suddenly you have 6 power on your end step for 5 mana.
For 5 mana.
Passes the vanilla test.
Tribal cards are very popular.
Oh yeah. And then you can its third ability, pay 4 mana, create a 2/2 ooze creature token. And it doesn't even need to tap. So if you have a shit ton of mana, you can just create. Yeah. If you happen to get like the Vizier combo going or something, you just create infinite dudes. God, man, that's pretty good. So it's a mana sink.
It's a mana sink. It's a army in a can type card where this one threat, if it's not answered, will take over the game.
Wow.
It's sort of passes the Timmy test. You know, it's like
What's the Timmy test? You got to tell me about this.
just the thing that gets somebody excited to play. Like, there are archetypal Magic players that have these labels like Spike is the win at all costs competitive archetype. Timmys and Tammys are the players that want to like put on a huge creature or do something really cool
Yep.
or very flavorful. And so I could totally see if Wizards prints a legendary ooze at some point, and all of a sudden we have a reason to have an ooze EDH deck, every one of those is going to have biogenic ooze. If you have an EDH deck that can generate a ton of mana, which every green deck
Yeah.
can.
If you can pay, if you see it as worthy of paying, a 3 green 1 colorless mana ability in a creature, you can probably generate a lot of mana. So, yeah, that's interesting, man. It's definitely a lot of value for 5 mana.
So this is a card that I can see being $10 in a year and a half after it's out of print.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting take.
So write
Yeah,
that shit down.
For sure. That's a good one. Very good one for write this shit down. I have one more for, I'm not sure if it should be write this shit down or snap this shit up. But
we get a lot of shit in this podcast.
Yeah, I would say we do, man. I would say probably write this shit down. And it is what I had mentioned earlier, Urza Lord High Artificer. Like, write this shit down, man. If not, pick them up. Like,
I love
if
this
not, snap them up.
We always have this dichotomy of I'm here and Mike's like
Way over here.
like I'm telling you about the $1, $2 cards. Mike is making the smart play, and that this $40 card ain't getting printed again anytime soon.
Well, I get this feeling with certain cards where it's like, much like I talked about earlier, like, shit, why don't I own a playset of this card yet? You know what I mean? And for so long, I think even, through all of the bannings in Modern, through all of the different changes, Urza has been the boogeyman of the format. Like, the boogeyman. You don't want to play against it. Like, no matter how good your deck is, you're just like, shit. Like, this is the deck I don't want to play against. You know what I mean? It's just so versatile. We had talked a few podcasts ago about Thopter Foundry and Sword of the Meek combo. That's right back at him, man. Like, that's now you have a combo that, like, not only is Urza Lord High Artificer good on its own, like, you slam it out there, it's really good value for 4 mana. But you mean to tell me if you have another awesome combo on the board that's hard to deal with, it's not an instant win combo, but then if you slam Urza, suddenly it is. Like, suddenly it's an instant win combo. Like, not only, in case people aren't familiar, if you have the Sword of the Meek and Thopter Foundry combo, you basically are allowed to pay 1 mana and, gain a life and create a Thopter token. Like, and do that as many times as you want, as many times as you can pay the 1 mana. Urza Lord High Artificer, as
all of those Thopters.
Yeah, he basically turns your artifacts into tappable mana. So
Mox Sapphire.
Yeah, it turns them into Mox Sapphires, basically. Yeah,
that's an expensive card.
So you can just basically slam out an army of dudes, like a million dudes on the board, right? But the crazy part about that is you've gained 1 million life too. Like, even if they somehow handle the board, the game's over. You're not dealing 1 million damage to this person, especially in a format where affinity is no longer a thing. You don't have to really worry about someone jamming a ton of counters on their Ink Moth. You're dead when someone gains 1 million, 1 billion, 30 trillion life. You're dead. The game's over.
Oh, I know. I've played against Heliod combo.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, even if that's all they do, you're not winning the game, man. Like, you're just not doing it.
Well, and I want to give Wizards credit where credit is due. I think I said this on a prior episode. they're flavor winning all over the place.
Yeah.
Because if you want to have this creature be that fantastic, yeah, we need a comma there. There you go. You definitely want Urza to be that awesome.
Oh yeah.
Like for the amount of provenance that the name carries in the history of Magic. Like, okay, so everybody and their brother will go, "Oh, you play Magic? You got a Black Lotus?" Whenever I meet people that don't know anything about Magic, they know about a Black Lotus.
Yeah.
But when you are like, "Oh man, Urza and Mishra and the Brothers War," and like, then you know somebody knows
Yeah.
what's up.
Everybody, like, even if you're one of those vintage classic Magic players, you've heard of Urza. Like, the Urza lands. He's been a legend in the game for a long time. And they finally printed a good version of him that is very playable. And talk about value, dude. He cranks out a Master of Ethereum, basically, when he comes into play. So for 4 mana, you get a 1/4, right? Big ass on this dude, meaning, like, Lightning Bolt isn't going to handle him. Like, you need to do a shit ton of damage to this guy to get him off the field. Of
Flavor
course,
win.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you path him, even if you find a way to, like, 1-for-1 this guy, right? He brings in a fucking huge artifact dude with him.
Construct, flavor win.
Exactly. And, like, let's
he
not
creates
forget. Yeah, he creates Karn's dude. Yeah, exactly. But, like, then he also has another ability. Pay 5, shuffle your library, and then exile the top card. Until end of turn, you may play it without paying its mana cost. So it's a temporal aperture. Or a temporal aperture. Right,
I was seeing a little bird sitting on a temple at a perch. Sorry.
Sorry, I think that was programmed in my head when I was like a little kid. You first crack that card, you're like, this is cool, but I don't know how to pronounce it or read it. Sorry, pronunciations. But he does that. Like, he's a reserve list card as an ability. He just has that random ability among other nasty abilities. Like, this card is so good. And like I said, it's just these archetypes of decks are just the boogeyman in the format. What deck are you running where you are not scared of Urza? Like, seriously, think about that. Like, be honest with yourself for a minute. What deck are you running where you're not scared of Urza? None of them. Like, you're always scared of Urza. You're always like, yeah, I could die.
Light control?
Still, like, what are you gonna do?
Now, if we're looking at flavor and spending half as much money on a card.
Yeah, that's really good too.
Yawgmoth Thran's Physician. Another mythic from the same Modern Horizons set that is not being opened anymore, that has another wall of text and is very powerful. Hey, it's a 2/4.
Yeah. It's really good. It has a lot of text, a lot of value. It actually made some modern lists recently.
Yeah.
It was really impressive. I believe in sort of a Creature's Toolbox deck is where it showed up, and just very interesting, man. It's just very interesting. Like, pay, has it's a 2/4 for 4 mana, right? Protection from humans, so just very modern meta right there. Protection from humans. Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, put a -1/-1 on target creature, and draw a card. So you're not really losing any card value there.
Nope.
And you're possibly dumping something. But, worst comes to worst, just pay 2, discard a card, proliferate.
And I can't get away from the flavor win. Like, he has protection from Urza himself, but not from Urza's Construct token.
He even has protection from himself. So technically, they're just wasting words by saying another creature. He can't target himself. He's a human. He has protection from humans. Therefore, no need for the word another.
Well, yeah.
Troll. Trolling you, wizards.
One last thing that I wanted to bring up, because I think in our first or second podcast we brought up Veil of Summer. And I saw Veil of Summer come up today on the Twitter. And in the Twitterverse, Ari Lex made a post today that was noteworthy, which is I'm gonna do what I think everybody should do when they hear terrible news: is share it with everyone. Veil of Summer does get around Chalice on 0, because nestled in that card, between, you're gonna draw a card and you and permanents you control have hex proof from blue and black, is the line of text that says spells you control can't be countered this turn.
God, that's so good, dude.
And so if your opponent Chalice is on 0 and you're looking at a handful of 0 drops and you're now green affinity, I don't know.
Who knows
And you go,
who knows what those affinity players are doing
Veil
these
of
days.
Summer, I'm going to draw another card. I'm going to play all of my Mem Knights and all my 0 drops, and your Chalice can get fucked.
That card has so much text, man. Veil of Summer. It's so good. By the way, official advice based on this player's market: if you have foil Veil of Summers, dump those hoes. Like, dump them. They're $30. Like, that's an uncommon card. Uncommon. Not even printed at rare. Not mythic.
Yep.
$30 for a foil. Dump it.
And knowing that it's not going to be played in Standard, it's not going to be played in Pioneer. The player's market is actually pretty limited for it. I would second that motion for sure.
Absolutely, man. So one more thing before we go that I kind of had a card on my write this shit down list, but it just sparks this whole larger conversation about my favorite deck archetype in the world. The card is Paradox Engine. Write this shit down, man. It's gone down to like an all-time low of $6, $7. I picked up, like, this might have even been a little too early to pick them up, but like I picked up 3 of them on Star City for like a little over $4 each, like the slightly played versions. And like, that card is so nasty, man. Like, that single-handedly enables my favorite archetype, right? This is so out there. This is so rogue. But my favorite type of deck is a Magistrate Scepter Core Tapper combo type deck. We've talked about this at the shop before. Yeah. But like, Core Tapper is so nasty, man. I was literally playing that variant in Vintage at one point. I know that sounds stupid, but like, I placed second at quite a few Vintage tournaments with it. Like, Magistrate's Core Tapper. Like, land a Core Tapper. If I untap, the game is over. Like, you're never getting another turn. I'm going to slam a, Magistrate Scepter. I'm just going to slam Chalices. I'm going to move counters around on Chalices with Power Conduit. Like, it was so nasty. I saw a deck, and let me get the exact reference here. I believe it was a top finisher that was that build. Yeah, so placed first in a MTGO Modern Preliminary, which admittedly I'm not 100% sure on how competitive those are, how many players are in there. But just to see this as a number 1 deck list, it's called Urza Tron, which I think is a misnomer. It runs 4 Core Tappers. I'm just going to love any deck that runs 4 Core Tappers, man. It's one of my favorite cards of all time. And it uses Paradox Engine. Like, it's literally the big engine of the deck that just allows it to, put counters on things like Everflowing Chalice and Astral Cornucopia with Core Tapper. And every time you cast a spell, you're untapping those huge mana rocks. And just, you don't have infinite mana, but you have enough, you know what I mean, to slam a huge walking ballista and just finish the game. You know what I mean? You might get 80, 90 mana. It's no Druid Vizier.
List there. I want to check it out. This is just the X Tribal deck. Yeah, this is the X Tribal deck.
Yep. Yeah, and of course it's got the Urza lands in it, because it also has a card that we talked about a few weeks ago, Eugen the Ineffable. Yeah.
Eugene.
Yep, Eugen, man. He's so good.
There's one thing, though, I just can't abide in this list.
What's that?
What the hell is the one Once Upon a Time for?
I don't get it. I fully plan on building a variant of this deck, and that is the first card I'm taking out. For a Magistrate Scepter, probably. But it's odd to have one, like a one of Once Upon a Time. Like,
you like the 4 Karn Great the Creator? We showed some love for that.
We did, man, and I think post banning, which admittedly, I was a little wrong when I said, "Hey, this combo's it's in no fear of getting banned," right? And
Yeah.
then
Thanks to Leaf for calling us out on
yeah,
our shit
Myco
there.
Synthalatus gets banned like the very next week. I'm like, well, I guess I was wrong on that. I still don't take back what I said about Karn. Like, it's still a $4, maybe $3 Planeswalker now, and
Yeah.
it's just, come on, man. Like, it's still so good. Don't kid yourself. Same with Yugen, man. I just picked up my fourth one. I couldn't remember if I had 3 or 4, so it might be my fifth one. But I picked it up for $3 on eBay. Yugen the Ineffable,
Well,
$3.
and that's just it. If it's your fifth copy, that's great. And in 6 months or a year and a half or something, it goes into your trade binder when it's $20.
Yeah, that's another one, man. Pick it up, like Yugen the Ineffable, like $3 Planeswalker that's used in some competitive decks. But yeah, man, this is just so cool. I was so happy to see a core tapper deck finish one of these tournaments at first, first place, and yeah, it
I
makes me excited.
almost look forward to seeing you play that at the shop.
I probably will. I'm literally the Paradox engines away from it, so that's why I ordered them on Star City. I was like, it might be a little too early. I bet this card will probably go down to like, maybe a $2-3 mythic.
Well,
Like it
and
might hit
it's
that.
banned
It
in
might
EDH.
bottom out. Yeah.
So that was the thing. It rotated out of standard and really never did anything in standard. Was oppressive in EDH, got banned there. Nobody's found a deck for it really in Modern or Pioneer. I think some people have tried it in paradoxical outcome decks,
Mm-hmm.
where they're just playing a bunch of non-creature artifacts. But we will see, man.
You will see.
I would love to. I love to watch you play that deck. I just don't want to play against it.
Right. And just in case anyone doesn't know, Magistrate Scepter, cool ass card, right? So it was originally printed in Mercadian Masks, and it's a 3-drop artifact, and it says pay for and tap it, add a charge counter, or tap it, remove 3 charge counters, take an extra turn after this one. So naturally, if you have 3 core tappers on the board that can add a charge counter every turn, you can take an extra turn, next turn, untap, take an extra turn. Like you got infinite turns, man. Like just the coolest combo ever, in my mind.
You're killing me, man.
Well, hey guys, thanks again for joining us this week, and thank you, Brad. We always have the most interesting conversations, man. I freaking
we
love
do.
it.
We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. See you guys next week.
I need a haircut.
Look at it, dude. I start looking like Bozo the Clown the longer the sides of my hair grow out, because the top doesn't grow for shit.
Color
Yeah, you see? Oh, no, not at all. Starting to fucking fade right up to the top, you see? Oh, yeah.
Well, I got the greasy wispy thing going on here at the end of a work day. We'll cut this into the end of the episode.